You see him staring. It's like knowing exactly what he wants. Miss Lamb said calmly in her voice. Maybe the butler doesn't need to look around anymore. There are only 4 of us here. We've given orders 1,000 miles to support this place. The captain of the army will be a little late. Most likely I heard that and laughed a little. It also means that in a few days you will be alone. The marshal will also come. Haha, I already know this. I will inform the young lady. You can go home. Stop talking and turn away. Leaving for people alone. They've come a long way. Not even the door. There's no point in that. Solo girl fiery temperament. When I saw him turn away, I hurriedly shouted, "This Zach Butler is ridiculous. We're 1,000 miles to back up. They don't thank you. Even the door won't let us in. The world has guests. Most likely to stop, but don't turn your head coldly. Guest. When you talk about support, you go to Sao. What do you do together with them? A few days ago, we've just been killed in a very heavy battle. If you have excess muscle mixed in, it doesn't become the cataclysm of the lost family. We hear this word. The quiet, intelligent woman suddenly understood. It's not that this person despises them. It's just being careful. This is understandable. The family is currently being targeted by 7 families. If you are not careful, you will definitely fall into the category of genocide. The doctor suspected the great poison she painted hugging the right frown said. We're generals under the marshal. The old marshal before the great dawn. Your army is like a mountain. Not to be friends with the wicked. Do you not even believe in the dignity of the lonely? Old Marshal Sao. Hear this word. Most likely, he suddenly raised his face to the sky and shouted, "The lone old marshal is eating you. Protect the whole family above and below us. Before the time of respect. Especially the young lady. Every day, you have to take a shower and burn incense. I pray that Marshall and Kong protect the universe firmly." The word just ended. 4 people were immediately moved. Then get lost. They also respect you as a warrior. It's not in vain. 4 men 1,000 miles rushed here to help. But very quickly, most likely, he changed his face and changed his voice. But why do we know there is? Are you the 4 heavenly tigers? Under the marshal? Or not? But in recent years, there's been so much faking. Single girl Fung immediately export order post. Put it in front of the worst. This is the general's order to poison her. Take a look at the butler track. But most probably not a single glance at the base. Pout your lips, you're not talking. There have been too many fakes over the years. She looked at his attitude. I finally can't help but scream. They blame you for not wanting to. The 4 tigers have been in the sky for years. It's never been seen as fake. You don't know us. You can only prove that you are backward. You didn't let us in, did you? There is news of Lao Tzu a way to hit. Can these battles of yours stop Lao Tzu? I am in a hurry to take a few steps back. It is amazing to tell you. It shows the picture, right? Lonely old marshal rule strict men. Love Cyprus. Why does a subordinate appear status? Break into people's homes. This is no different than a bandit. She glared her eyes. I gritted my teeth and said to you. He couldn't stand the anger of his 3 brothers. Not too patient. Is 3 enough? Maybe you really want to give her poison a reputation. Stormed into Sao people's homes. Turn back to the best of your ability to speak. Sorry, these 3 guys are used to it. Please make sure the butler doesn't take it personally. It's only when you can trust us. I can't accept the most cold-hearted apology. The old man is almost a bit of news. Fortunately, I didn't let you in. Watch out, you are in such a weak mood right now. Somewhere like the old marshal's poison. You didn't say that before. The lone marshal is coming. Then wait for the marshal to prove it. Let you go. End words. He blinked, and 4 people watched him leave. I don't know what to do. The doctor shook his head and looked at Ms. Feng. So now we have to do something. Laughing alone for an hour. I can do so. Go to the Feng Lin City Inn and stop. Like the marshal who came to ask for our lost war. Not even their doors. How to talk about? Solo girl lightly glances solo girl Fira. Speak up according to the truth. This loss is not simple. In the distance, there are families that can play out 4 to 5 great battles. Let the marshal show himself. Adultery 230 to solo girl battle heaven. Another dimension. Most likely back to the conference room. Then bring all the people together. To make changes to the peanut base. I deliberately let the 4 of them come back. I want enough time to prepare. Serving for later purposes. After 3 days of the most intense on one side, observe for yourself. Lost Van High reading books. I suddenly felt a shock. Immediately bring the spirit of observation. Suddenly in my eyes I felt a deep appreciation. The Great Air Force is not Tiger Angel War. He turned back to everyone. Everyone prepare. The house can be quiet for a few more years. Not to watch this time. Everyone who receives the order answers in unison. Then run on all 4 sides. Most certainly look to be satisfied. Turn your eyes to the lost sea. The next boy is for you. You have to act a little more like it. The bird opened its mouth for an hour. Father must do that, Sao. When you say ha ha ha, you laugh and leave. Outside the forest. The 4 tigers were soon waiting. Welcome to the solitude of heaven. Not long. They finally saw the 5 great armies. Is coming in the distance. That the equestrian leader. It's the second in the 4 universes. Lonely girl battle heaven. This person to 6 is only the 6 great scenes in Tianvu. Not weak, but not the strongest. Relying on the lonely army. Even the 7 families did not dare to tease. I saw the army coming. The 4 men immediately knelt down and shouted out loud. Lord Marshal's palace. She's a little nervous. How to talk casually. The lost family is safe. Lonely girl Feng immediately hugged the power. I solemnly announce the launch of martial law. Everything is fine. The Lady of War heard this word with satisfaction. Breathed a sigh of relief as. But in the end, I didn't have time to restore my honor. So no one's been lost in SA lately. The woman in question said, "Oh, this." Before we arrived, the house seemed to be under attack. And when you hear this word, you are alone. What are you glaring about? How are they doing now? How much love? Did you catch any of those guys? Is the owner of the lost house okay? Lone Miss Battlefield urgently worried. Ask a guy a question. They don't even know how to answer. My face is filled with suffering. Silence for a long time. In the end, the wind alone had to persevere. Marshall, we don't know all this. His word just ended. Lonely girl fighting angel unconsciously frowned, furiously screaming. Fortunately, none of this is known. What did you come for a few days ago? This a little bit. It's not like your usual behavior. You must be drinking. What is wrong with the military? I can hear the meaning I want to use. The French startled me. Rush forward to explain. The marshal is less angry. Listen to us explain. Already said, he gave me an explanation of love once. Waiting for him to clarify. Lonely girl is amazed to ecstasy. For 5th level matches. This poor place. End words. He then sent the spirit to observe the four sides of the Black Fung Mountain. As they say, of course. When he met the right spiritual battle, he was prevented from returning. His mind is not free from fear. The occlude is strange. It is hard to blame the king for his hasty return. Of course, there are high-ranking people here. If this battle has a 5-level defense. If you can't get in, it's reasonable. The old man doesn't blame you. He 3 alone misfire stubborn not bow screaming. The AI marshal said we can't get in. If it's not the CA that's stopping. I soon broke the spell, and his dogs stormed in. His word just ended. She alone changed her face. My eyes are down, damn it. In the old man's command. Is it allowed to enter people's homes? If you dare to enter, break the old man's rules. They are full of your dogs. I see the person in front of me angry. The fire's aggressive atmosphere was forced back. I was afraid to step back and laugh. My marshal is just arbitrary. Tell me, don't take it seriously. 3 old men saw this. I can't help laughing, he's hot. A moment later alone. Suddenly looking at the lonely sky. Seriously say, Marshal. The butler said the new arrivals let us in. See if there's another idea. It seems to invite people in. Hear this word. You are the one who makes you laugh. Ha ha ha. The old man only had Fung Hong Min come. I don't mean to get lost. But if this place is inhabited by Gao, the old man also wants to get used to it. He immediately jumped off the horse. Turn your head to the rear. Command the marshal. The army must not enter the city to harass the people. Camp out 20 miles southeast. The entire army below heard the order. Bow his head loudly. Misfire hurried to the side to remind the marshal. That butler is petty. Later for the short questioner. Disrespectful language. People absolutely do not be angry. She laughed out loud and said yes. You think he's as hot-headed as you are. Lonely girl, fire lips in the heart of resentment. That's what you are. However, he did not dare to speak. He's really afraid of the military. I thought he was cowardly. Follow everyone. Miss Lamb said softly to the deep fan. The three of us see that the butler is not careful. It's another muscle. I want to see the marshal for whatever reason. We will soon understand. You can listen to him too. Silently nodding and laughing. Of the four of you, the calmest person can see the most clearly. He is right, this old man must have a plan. Let us see what the hell they did. Stop laughing for an hour. The air is boldly going towards the black fung paint. Soon the four of them reached the foot of the mountain. Standing in front of the four great battles. She's alone with her face up to the sky. Scream marshal heaven and earth. Lonely girl, heaven worship the owner of the lost family. There's a commotion. The poison gas of dragon battle gradually dissipated. The body image of the most popular also accordingly appeared in front of them. This time the attitude is not the same as before. On the face appears a little more closed. Not even in front of you. Most likely the world was in the distance to the great lost butler. He must have been a lonely old marshal. With four generals. She looked at the man in front of her. The corners of the mouth are slightly squinted. Bring the jeer, say, oh. You are the butler of that family. I heard you were very careful. My four generals took orders to show Ra. You don't believe either. I just met the old man this time. He confirmed the old man was real. Not afraid of the old man is also fake Sao. I saw this marshal. I finally came by myself. Probably the most annoying. If everything goes according to your plan, then the show begins. I think it is most likely to hide the pleasure. Ignored his salute. Pretended to be stupid and said the marshal alone. God of war in the world, who dare to fake? Even if it's fake, the appearance of people, it's not fake either, then your invincibility. Whether fake, that kind of attitude of yours is absolutely impossible to fake. A life of war. The atmosphere of private men close to the battlefield. 233 Welcome. Footman. The world is not old, the world has AI. I just heard from a distance and felt the power. Say no to that. Body boiling. There was only the marshal. I can only give you so much power. Worship of the lower. For people like Yangtze. Impeccable sports. Again like the broken sea. It can't be recovered. Don't wait for the worst to finish. Soul Lesbo Scout looks why stroking ass horse too. So refreshing. I'm a little impatient with my arm. Okay, the old man understands. In this remote place, there's a real Gao. Even a butler has that kind of talent. Admire, admire. For the little brother's butler. Now, the old man can see the lost master. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised. Most likely, the priest said he had waited early. Read, you see the sign. Waving sleeves, striding straight ahead. 4 lonely people in the valley follow closely behind. Lonely girl fire passing by. He would raise his head and say yes. Now you know we're real. Must be laughing happily. Of course, we used to have Iris. I hope you can count things. Miss Lin heard this word deeply. Take a look at one. Laughed and shook his head. He must have thought of it, and then everything came back. Out of the hands of such a man. If really, then there's another room chief. But he couldn't believe it either. The person in front of this, the future is like the wind. The mind is full of me. But why is certain it will be harder to deal with than the general? Because this person always knows what he wants and by all means. To get what you want. Smart people are scary, but smart people risk their lives even more. The most likely is one of them. But that will also be a matter of later. Through the dragon battle. It is most likely to lead people. 5 people very quickly. We have entered the Black Mountain. Most likely, he invited the marshal. In front of them. It's not the Great High Gate. The opposite. It's just a rudimentary subject, like the military. At the same time, the people's voices reached into their ears. Surprise them. I have little doubt what the strangers are doing. Most likely, they look suspicious. Smiling for an hour. The marshal doesn't need to be surprised. Before, there were bad people. Now the whole family is down. They are all seriously waiting. Especially the guards who practice day and night. The field marshal is the angel of war. Have interest. Let me show you a little bit of my lost son. So down below, I really appreciate it. The most common way to enter the classroom. The 5 of them went into the house of the lost. But what surprised them was that, lost far inside, there's not any architecture. It's all military. It's like a 5-man army. Not wrong in 3 short days. The best of the world has brought all the rooms of the lost family. Changed to carnation. I want to bring a sense of belonging to you. Old Marshal. Very quickly, everyone went to the dojo. This place is dominated. They are trained as soldiers. There are children inside. And yet, the nose is dead. 10-part thrust bearing. She's alone all year round. My time in the military is longer. Sitting in a confined room. Of course, this business is also more friendly. It's not a waste of time to blow up the snail room. Changed into this. Let him have a friendly feeling. Doing as you please is also a way of hiding. She looked at the scene in front of her. It's a little unbelievable. He led more than 15 self-proclaimed French troops. Great, there's no way. Bringing in a bunch of recruits in a short time. To form such a resolute divine warrior. A child less than 10 years old. You can form such a strong spirit. I can't believe that in this poor family. Someone can do it again. At this point, most likely, the world suddenly lowered itself, deliberately sighing. We are a family of 3. Just had a great accident. There's only a handful of generals left here practicing. I really let people laugh. The lonely woman glanced at him and said, You play less. These kids are still low. But the gods stopped training. It's absolutely elite soldiers in elite soldiers if they're seen as old and weak. So your original guard corps. They're not all legions of monsters. You need an old man to come to your aid. I'm sure you heard what he meant in his words. I can't help but laugh quietly. Looks like this guy is relatively realistic. Don't like frivolous illusions. I can't blame you for being an angel. Of course, the righteous. And then he thought back to the lonely woman who said that. Old Marshal, please point out our children. Lonely girl lights sky hidden hand. Laugh out a voice you don't need. In front of you lost. Even the old man did not dare to color. Track the butler. Now, the old man just wants to see your lost master. What is the character after all? Maybe around the for great 5 levels of the French do not speak. You can bring these teenagers. Training to the elite. The old man really wanted to see it in person. Just set out. The 4 people behind him were immediately terrified. After all, there is God behind it. Which country has such a big heart? Can make the angel of war humble himself. Self-knowledge is not equal. But as a small defense team, it's stronger. There are many of their soldiers. I don't blame the marshal for that. Most definitely in the eyes flashed light. But very quickly disappeared nodding, laughing, ha ha ha. If the marshal was in such a hurry. Please follow me. I think our owner is also anxious. As I said, most likely continued to lead the way. Deep inside the daimyo goes too. The lonely people are also following behind. But they didn't notice. This whole process. They're all being led away. A moment later I heard a scream. Fake soldiers maintain the great death chi Dao. God's will is impossible, Father. So go through 5 things. Chi brand that radiates the most amazing. Write the Tao to write the heaven 3 write the land. The lone warrior slightly stopped to whisper. This is military. A passage in history. After all, AI is reading private. At this point, you might suddenly hit your head. Seem to remember something. Turn around and go to another place and say, oh. I forgot to watch. Master has been standing for 10 hours. You should rest. He was left behind. She was alone for a while. Also lift your feet. Very fast, everyone went to a room in the small courtyard. Fall into their range as a teenager. There is a cup on your head. 2 hands raised straight on the pillow are also placed to cups. At the same time in the mouth constantly muttering. There's a sailor in his ass. As long as he sits down. Waiting for him is the sailor. Alone she could not help but be stunned. The suspect said the butler is probably laughing for an hour. He said, we are lost in the sea. All over our lost world. All honor the name of the god of solitude. Old Marshal. So the whole family in the world, they're asking themselves to be militarized. Especially the young man. More and more required to practice and read military letters. Next day, may join the army under his marshal. I can hear the words of the devil a little. The owner is so good at training soldiers. Tell that kid what he's doing. The whole house down there has a sense of mystery. He doesn't really understand what the hell he's playing. Pick it up. Most likely, he tried to spy on the marshal. Young master, we join the army. Oh, this of course. Young people pray for the national strive to conquer essay school. I didn't even wait for him to finish. Most likely they screamed for an hour. That's too good. Then we went to the side of Van High. Take the kid out and tell him what he's doing. Lonely old lady Yuan. The captain accepted. Go and pour a cup of tea. The Lost Sea nodded. An hour of excitement ran out. Finally, you don't have to practice anymore. I'm really tired, kid. She's a little stunned right now. Stupid not understand, I just said out loud. It was hard for him to say that the butler was. Don't let him react. Probably the most. Raise your hand and cut off the marshal. You don't have to say anything. The owner received my house. If you know that your loved one, I will appreciate you all my life. You don't know. This is my master's lifelong wish. Stop talking where they can't see you. With a pleasant smile. Every step of the way has fallen into his trap. Adulterated to 130 for fetish women embracing big thighs. Right now is the prize. From behind appeared a boastful appearance. Lonely old lady Yuan. The captain is really the man. Most probably know she's acting like that. But her expression was too pompous. I hope it's not discovered by the lone warrior. If you don't think it's over. Look at the shrew in front of you. She was alone with a gentle gaze and asked to track the butler. This one is out of a state of helplessness before the performance of ordinary. I must have laughed to voices. Not even introduced to people. This is Our Lady. Often lost. Is that feces often here? The two eyes can't help but light up. Almost jumped up. There's not a little bit of formality.